Hi, my name is Agyeman Konadu Vida and I'm presenting on prevalence of Helicobacter pylori infection in students of TI Media Senior High School. This project was done by myself, Amano Ernest, and Abili Ashley. So this is going to be our presentation outline, our introduction, problem statement, justification, objectives, then we move to our materials and method, results and discussion, and finally we will conclude. So Helicobacter pylori is a gram-negative bacterium and it was discovered by Warren and Marshall in 1982. In the past years, people did not believe that bacterium can colonize the human stomach given its acidic nature. So these two gentlemen took it upon themselves to perform a test which proved that indeed bacterium can live in the human stomach, and this bacterium was called Helicobacter pylori. The name of it was actually Campylobacter pylori, but it changed to Helicobacter pylori given its helical shape, and pylori because it lives in the pyloric sphincter of the human stomach. It is microaerophilic, which means it needs little amount of oxygen to survive. And given the acidic nature of the stomach, it has some things that enable it to colonize the stomach, and it has flagella. It produces urease and catalase. Catalase is an enzyme which digests the epithelial layer of the stomach lining, and it is flagellated, so it is highly mobile. It produces urease. Urease breaks down urea into ammonia and carbon dioxide, which neutralizes the stomach environment. H. pylori has been known to cause peptic ulcer, gastritis, and it has even been known to cause stomach ulcer, but most people do not know about this. That is why we chose this project. So this is the human stomach, and this is where the organism lives. This is the pyloric sphincter. So if H. pylori colonizes your stomach, this is where it will be. Okay. So our introduction. The mode of transmission has been debated upon in the past years. The mode of transmission has been debated upon, yes, but two main modes have been accepted, which is the oral-oral transmission and the fecal-oral transmission. Oral-oral means from the mouth of an infected person to the mouth of an uninfected person, and fecal-oral is ingesting anything contaminated with fecal samples containing this organism. And the disease has been known to be predominant in developing countries because in developing countries we have low socioeconomic status of living. Overcrowding is a problem. We have poor sanitation and poor source of drinking water, and all these factors enhances H. pylori infection. And a survey which was done in Ghana proves that 75% of the people who show up complaining of stomach pains tested positive for H. pylori. And we'll actually get to know if abdominal pains, you experiencing abdominal pains, has a link with H. pylori infection or any association at all with H. pylori infection. And our problem statement: the disease is contracted during your childhood, but most people remain asymptomatic to it. And in asymptomatic, I mean you don't show the symptom of it unless you grow up and your immune system becomes suppressed and other factors enhances the manifestation of this disease. That is when it will be seen in you. That is when you will be tested. You'll be tested positive for it. And H. pylori infection, it's on the rise, especially in children, and it has received little attention in Ghana. When people show up at the hospitals complaining of stomach pains, the first test that will come to the doctor's mind is, okay, go and do typhoid test. Let's test whether you have typhoid or not. Most hospitals do not even have test kits to test for H. pylori infection, which means it has indeed received little attention. And some of the conditions that can lead to H. pylori infections are not known to most of the populace, so they live anyhow. They do not practice proper sanitation or proper personal hygiene because they do not know. Maybe they know that it can cause some infection, but they do not know that it can lead to the infection of H. pylori. So we chose this project because we want to bring to people, we want to create the awareness that yes, H. pylori is there, and also we want to bring out various preventive and control measures which can be put in place to limit the infection of this disease, and also how to get rid of this bacterium if anyone has it. So our main objective was to determine the prevalence of H. pylori infection among students of TI Ahmedia Senior High School, and we chose TI Ahmedia because it is a religious school, a Muslim school, alright, but it has considerable number of Christians, and it is a boarding school. And since we've already established that overcrowding is a factor to the infection or contracting of H. pylori, and we know that in our boarding schools overcrowding is a problem, that's why we chose it. And these are our specific objectives: to determine the risk factors that can lead to H. pylori infection among students, and also determine the sensitivity of H. pylori to antigen test and blood antibody test. We actually use two test methods, which is there's two antigen and the blood antibody test, and also to determine H. pylori infection in relation to abdominal pains. If anyone who shows a complaint of abdominal pain should be tested for H. pylori or not. So our materials and method, our study area was TI Ahmedia Senior High School, and I've already explained why. And our methodology: before this project, we went to the school, we met 100 of the students, we educated them on H. pylori. Most people had not even heard of the disease before, but we educated them. Then we administered 100 questionnaires to them, and we randomly selected 50. Some of the information we needed from these questionnaires was guardians' educational status, and we also needed information on how many times the student eats in a day, and if they practice proper sanitation, as in washing their hands after using the toilet or not, and if they do, how do they wash their hands, with what they wash their hands, and also their source of drinking water. When we got all this information, we analyzed it with SPSS and also chi-square to draw the link between them. So our result and discussion: I've already explained that we use two antigen test kit and blood antibody test kit. With us two antigen tests, we gave the students 2 containers a day before the test, and we went for the early mornings 2 samples for our test. Yes, we used 2. And after everything, after the test was performed, this is the results that came out. Out of the 50 students that showed up for the test, 40 of them were positive for H. pylori, and 20 of them, or 10, that is 20% of them, tested negative. So prevalence was actually on the rise. 80% of the students testing positive means we had high prevalence of H. pylori in TI Ahmedia Senior High School. Okay, now people have been debating about the relation of gender to H. pylori test. So we wanted to find out, does gender has any relation at all to H. pylori, to the contracting or infection of H. pylori? And this is the result that came out. Actually, we had 26 females turning up and 24 males. So the number of females we had were more than the males, and obviously they tested positive. They had the higher number as compared to the males. We had 84.62% of the females testing positive, that is approximately 85%, and 75% of the males turning positive. Yeah, so we had high prevalence in the females than the males. And most of the students that said they experience abdominal pain most often, we had 74% of them testing positive. And out of the students that said they do not experience abdominal pain at all, they all tested positive. Yes, they all tested positive. 21 of them were saying they do not experience abdominal pain at all. They all tested positive, which means that indeed people can be asymptomatic to the disease. You may have it, but you may never show the symptoms of it. And so you not having abdominal pain does not necessarily disqualify you from having H. pylori infection. Okay, now to the source of drinking water. We gave them the three options to choose from, which is borehole, tap water, and sachet water. And most people said their source of drinking water was from sachet water, which is treated water. And out of the people who said they use treated water, most of them tested positive, even than those who said they drink water from the tap and the borehole. So what does this mean? Is it that the sachet water is not treated as it should, or the water is not handled well by the students? That is also a subject of debate, and maybe further research will be done on it. And hand washing is very important everywhere you go. Hand washing has been known to be one effective method of preventing so many diseases. But what kind of hand washing? Is it just any hand washing at all, like washing your hand with nothing, or with only water? Or even if you wash your hands with water and soap, what method of hand washing do you use? Most of the students said they wash their hands with water and soap after using the toilet. That is 28 of them saying they wash their hands with water and soap after using the toilet. And after them, we had them testing positive than even the rest that said they wash their hands with only water, and those that said they wash their hands with nothing at all. Most of them were positive. Those people said they wash their hands with water and soap. So it means the hand washing does not depend on you just rubbing water or soap on your hands and then washing it off with water. The kind of soap you use, how effective is it? What kind of properties does the soap has? Can it kill any bacteria or any microorganism, or is just a soap? And we have two people saying they do not wash their hands at all, and out of them, one tested positive, the other tested negative. And those that said they wash their hands with only water, the only water people, we had 20 of them, and 15 of them tested positive. Yes, and 5 tested negative. That is 75% and 25%. Now to the stool antigen test and the blood antigen test. Sensitivity of a test is known as the ability of the test to determine those people with a disease, that's the true positive, and specificity has been known as the ability of a test to determine the true negative, as in the people who do not have it. So comparing the sensitivity and specificity of the stool antigen test and the blood antibody test, this is the results that came out. We recorded a high number of positives when we use the stool antigen test than the blood antibody test, but studies have shown that the stool antigen test is highly sensitive and specific than the blood antibody test. So to our conclusion, we can therefore conclude on this that prevalence is really high. Yes, so in our study area, prevalence was high in Media Senior High School. And prevalence has been known to be related to source of drinking water and hand washing. Yes, so people should practice proper hand washing procedures. Proper hand washing procedures should be taught in schools. And the stool antigen test is also sensitive than the blood antibody test. So our recommendation on this project is that research should be carried out on the effect of certain common drugs, and the sensitivity and specificity of H. pylori antigen test and H. pylori antibody test, and the knowledge of people should be brought to it. Thank you.